Okay, now we're going to discuss a property of vectors called the dot product. Now, while it may not mean anything to you right now, it is relatively simple, but I just want to give you a rough explanation before we dive in. What exactly is the dot product? Well, what we'll find out later in another video is that if you have, suppose, two vectors, okay, and maybe that's not the best drawing of a vector. Pretend it's a straight line, okay, a straight ray there, and then you have another vector right here. Well, the dot product is useful for calculating the angle in between the two vectors. Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to learn about the dot product, and then in another video we'll learn about calculating angles between vectors utilizing the dot product. So we're kind of learning how to crawl before we can walk type of situation here. All right, so let's take a look at what the dot product is. The dot product for two vectors u and v is denoted by u dot v. All right, and it's simply the product. If you look at the a multiplied by the c plus the b multiplied by the d. All right, so the dot product will give us a scalar and not a vector. All right, so that's kind of important here, that the dot product gives you a scalar and not a vector. All right, so if we have negative 10, comma 15, the first vector, and we're going to dot it with negative 6, comma negative 12, this is A, B, C, D. The dot product here, remember, and let me write it in a different color. Oops. There we go. The dot product here is AC plus BD. So when we look at that, that is going to be negative 10 times negative 6 plus 15 by negative 12. And this is going to give us a positive 60. And the 15 times the negative 12 will give us negative 180. Okay, and then you go ahead and 60 minus 180, you subtract that, you get negative 120 for the first dot product. Okay, now let's take a look at number 10 right here. And in number 10, we're going to have 9 and 0 dotted with 19, negative 3, another vector. And so we're going to simply say, okay, 9 by 19 plus 0 times negative 3. Well, that just makes that 0. So all we have to worry about is 9 times 19, and that's easy enough, 171. Okay, and one more here of this type, we're going to take negative 19, comma 5, dot that with 0, 8. And this one is fairly easy when you think about it, because 19 by 0 is 0, and 5 times 8 is 40. So this right here, the dot product, is just going to be 40 for that one. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple more examples here. Number 12 and 13 didn't mean to make those multiple choice, but they came out that way, and that's okay. We're going to find 2u dotted with v. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 2 and we're going to multiply it by a scalar. So we're going to take the vector negative 3, 5 and multiply it by the scalar 2. And then whatever we get there, we're going to dot with 4, negative 8. And so when we do this scalar multiplication, it's just like distribution when we were working with numbers. Negative 6, comma, what is that, 10? Okay, negative 6, 10, dotted with 4, negative 8. And we're going to take negative 6, we're going to multiply it by 4, and then we're going to add that to 10 and multiply by negative 8. And so we get negative 24 minus 80, and that's going to give us negative 104 for that dot product, which in this case is this letter B. And one more example here. All right, number 13, it says u equals negative 3, 5, v equals 4, negative 9. Evaluate u dotted with 5v. So u is negative 3, comma 5, and the vector v is going to get scalar multiplied by this 5. So we look something like this. So we have negative 3, 5, dotted with 20 and negative 45. And then we do the dot product. Negative 3 by 20 plus 5 by negative 45 gives us negative 60 plus a negative, what is that, 225, I believe, negative 225. And when we combine all of this, we get negative 285. So just a nice number of examples here about the dot product and, you know, some combination with scalar multiplication, but really nice examples. So if this video was helpful, remember, be sure to like and subscribe.